I created a lead qualification AI agent using no code, just my own natural language in Replit using their Agent 3 technology. In this video, I'm going to walk through exactly how I did it, how I set it up, a few of the roadblocks that I ran into, and how it's changing kind of everything I do when it comes to inbound sales in my organization. Hey, I'm Craig Hewitt. Welcome back to 100 Days of AI. Let's just dive in. So Replit announced about a week ago Agent 3. So 10 times more autonomous, infinite more possibilities is the headline here. Really fancy website. But the thing that this brought to the Replit platform, and we've covered Replit on the channel before, is the ability to create agents. AI agents, if you'll remember, have three characteristics. One is they have a model, so like ChatGPT. They have memory, so they remember things that have happened before, and they have access to one or more tools. Those are the three kind of characteristics of an agent, as opposed to a large language model by itself, like just talking to ChatGPT. So we're taking ChatGPT, giving it memory and tools like arms, right? And so Agent 3 from Replit gave us the ability to create AI agents, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Okay, so inside Replit, you can see the prompt here was create a lead qualification agent. This agent will read all new leads that come into my Attio CRM, and I'll talk about that in a second. Research them for qualification parameters such as business size, previous fundraising, industry, etc. Notice I didn't even give it like a rubric here. I just said, go be smart, right? And like you would probably give a better prompt than this, depending on your business and the things that are important to you in a lead in your business. But for this purpose, you can be just as general as this, and you can see later it worked, and it worked perfectly. Assign a score to each lead. The agent will then return the lead score back to a custom field in Attio called lead score. Do this every hour. When a lead has a high score, send a notification to me in Slack via the sales notification channel. And I'll show you that in just a second. And so this does a couple things. One, if you get leads into your business, undoubtedly, they have different quality, right? You have really good leads and you have really bad leads. Previously, you would have to go out and say like, okay, gosh, is this a good lead? What company do they work for? What kind of email address do they give? Where did they come from? What kind of actions did they take inside my business or my application? Kind of where did they sign up for a demo or download a white paper or whatever? Now, you can describe what constitutes a good lead to your business and deploy this agent to do the hard work of bubbling up the really good leads to you so you or your sales team can go do things, right? Reach out to them, connect with them on LinkedIn, give them a call, whatever it is, because not all leads are the same, right? You have good leads and bad leads. We want to pay the most attention to the best leads, and that's what this is able to do. So Replit said, okay, I'll help you create a lead qualification agent. It kind of went away and said, this is what I'm going to do. Do you agree with all this? And I did this ahead of time because this took about 20 minutes of Replit just working on its own. I didn't do hardly anything until the initial version of this was ready. And then you'll see there's a fair bit of kind of debugging that went into it, but it went away and did its thing kind of all by itself. I didn't have to touch anything. I didn't write any code. I just described what you see here. This is the input. And I debugged a little bit with it. Okay, so I'm going to go do this. Perfect. This is what is going to happen. And it built the whole thing. Okay, so it did 9 minutes of work to create the first version. And I tested it, and you can test it right over here. Just say test, and you can see it's running. It's going to go find things. It should not do anything because there's no new leads. And so you can see here, highest scoring leads found, total leads processed 0. Because in my CRM, I don't have any new leads since the last time I ran it. And leads in my CRM have both people and companies. And so we'll add a new lead in just a second, and it'll go out into the internet and find it and score it, and we'll run it live, okay? So initially, it wasn't returning any leads. And so, like this is the classic thing. Oh, you're absolutely right. Why am I not working? But it knows that, and it should have had 3 leads from Attio. So we were getting a 403 forbidden error, which meant that the API, the credentials I gave to Replit to talk to my CRM, weren't giving the right permissions. So I had to give the right permissions in my API in Attio for it to talk, right? And so I gave that to it and it worked. So great, I fixed the API integration. Now let me test it. Okay, now has the right scope and authentication. Great. Now it was using the wrong method. So when it used the API, It wasn't using a post to get the company's list and each individual record. So it did that, and we fixed that, and it comes down here. It says, great, I fixed the problem. You're good to go. Oh, and so this is where I needed to fix the scoping. Okay, so I did that. That's cool. And I said, okay, now how many leads were in this test run? And it says, oh gosh, there were 0 leads fetched. Why is that? Because there definitely were leads. So I think we tried again here, and let's see what happens. 0 were fetched from Attio again. And so here we see that all 3 leads have a score already. And then I said, go make sure you run all these, and it successfully fetched 10 leads this time from the CRM. Now there is some data mapping issues with like the data structure from Attio and what Replit was expecting. So it fixed all those on its own. Like I didn't even see those. Fetching 5 leads. It does just stuff, right? I don't even know, like this is developer-y stuff that it's doing. Okay, so now it fetched 3 leads. So Amazon, Oracle, and Tesla, which are the people that I created, right? These are the 3 people at Tesla, Oracle, and Amazon that I created, right? Cool. So now we know it's talking. Replit is talking to our CRM. That's cool. And it has these IDs. Okay. So it processed all of the leads, all 14 companies that I had now. And this list, this is just the dummy list in Attio. I just created a new CRM just for testing this. Attio is a really cool CRM, by the way. You should check it out if you're in the market for a new CRM. The problem here was there's a bad request updating lead scores back to Attio. And this was because I didn't have this lead score in the company object. I had it in the people. So in Attio, there's people and companies, and this is just like data stuff. Like anytime you're setting up an AI agent, you're going to say like, okay, where's the data coming from? What's going to happen? And then where is it going to go? In this case, we got the data from Attio. It did things, and we'll touch on that in a minute, and it's got to go somewhere once you do things with it. And initially, I wanted to put the lead score on the person. And the agent, because I didn't specify, said, no, the lead score needs to go on the company. And so I just had to come over here and add this as like a custom field or whatever in my CRM, and that started working after that. Cool. So I did that. All these leads were processed, and everybody's happy. Okay, so I said, run this and tell me what happened. And it said, cool, the system is working. What just happened? I ran this, I processed this. I ran it again. There were no new leads, and I didn't do anything. So I said, cool. But then I went over and looked at the thing that it returned, and all of the lead scores were the same. They were all 72. I was like, gosh, that seems a little suspicious. Why do you think that is? And is that really true? And here is where it says, you're absolutely right. Again, this is like the thing that it always says. And they found the issue is we were just populating like fake data in the code instead of actually going out to the internet and researching these companies. And so it says, cool, we're going to create like a scoring rubric based on this. And it needed this EXA tool. And so EXA is a way to search the internet programmatically. They have a free account. I signed up for this and got an API key, and I popped that back into my Replit repository here. Replit's really cool. It has a concept of like storing keys. So I did that. And now it went out into the world and researched my companies and found that like, yeah, hey, a company that's IPO versus like a fake Series A funded should kind of look different. Google versus Castos, my business, should not have the same lead score, right? And so it went out and did this research and said, okay, this is amazing, great. So previously everybody got this score of 72. Now Google gets a score of 95. Castos gets a score of 75. Small startups would get about 45 points, and large enterprises would get between 85 and 100. Cool, so that's great. And so now I said, test the Slack notification because we just never got that far before. It wasn't working. It asked me to do a bunch of crazy stuff with like Slack bots and stuff. But really what you want to do here is just create an incoming webhook. And so we did that. Webhooks are just a way to communicate kind of like API calls, but not exactly. And so we just had to set that up and enter the webhook URL, which you get from just right here, into the sales notification channel. And so we did that. And you can see in Slack here, that worked, right? This is a test webhook from Replit, and this is kind of what it got. Okay, cool. So that's where we are as of this point. So it thinks, great, everything is working. Now let's us go real time, which is super scary to record a YouTube video and do real time stuff. But we're going to add a couple of new people here, and then we're going to run the agent again and see that everything works, okay? Okay, so I went away and created a bunch of people and their respective companies. You can see folks like Jamie Dimon, who just happens to work at JP Morgan Chase. Okay, so we should have some big and some small because I included folks who I know are not huge, right? So let's go in here and test this automation and see what happens. So fetching the leads, researching them at EXA, and then sending a notification to Slack. Okay, so so it didn't get a notification in Slack, and no, it doesn't look like anything was run. So let's debug this. This is real life. So the nice thing about it is, like, you don't have to be a programmer to really understand how to build AI agents or really anything anymore. You can talk to things like Replit and just say, hey, what's going on here? Why is this not working? So, it's saying no new leads were added, but that's just not true because we definitely added people and their companies here. So, not sure why it's saying it's working, but it's definitely not. So there should be 19 leads. So let's tell it that. Oh, yeah, this is probably not it. It thinks it's some kind of like pagination thing where like it might only return the first 10 or something like that. I don't think that's the case. It's doing some testing here. We're going to pause and fast forward, and I'll come back once this is fixed. I don't want you. Okay. Okay. But 0 new lead scores. Okay, no. Okay, so we won't pause. Okay, I see the issue is finding 19 new leads and 0 leads to process. Already have a lead score from previous runs. Not true. Not true. Because if we come over here and we see like this is one of the ones, or Jamie Dimon, right? This is one of the ones, JP Morgan Chase. And if we come over here and look at it, it has a lead score that's empty. So we know that's not true. So it's not working correctly. So let's tell it. And I think this kind of goes to show you, like, one, don't shoot a YouTube video when your agent is only like 80% done and just assume that everything works. But also, a lot of times, agents are not going to be production ready without a bunch of testing. And so maybe like Replit and this kind of one-shotting an agent thing isn't the best use case for like an actual business application of an agent. It might be fine for like, hey, play around with it. And if it breaks, like, it's no big deal. But you would want to put in a step here, like, if you go all day and don't find any new leads and your business gets new leads every day, like, I need to know about it. Like, I need to flag this as an error somehow, flag something in Slack or send me an email or give me a notification or something like that. Okay, so I see the issue. The logs show that the sample record has lead score as false, which means there are leads without scores, but the filtering logic is still returning 0. Cool. How about you fix it? There's a mismatch in the filtering logic, adding some debugging here. Okay, so, like, this is software development. I run a SaaS business, and this is just absolutely what happens is we go and we build something and we think it's right, and maybe it's right in like one case, but in this case where we have leads and we add more, it might not know how to check them right. And so it's hopefully doing a better job of this. And we'll test it again here once Replit is done kind of fixing its problem, and hopefully it's right at that point. And we'll see here in Slack, hopefully there are new leads, because sure enough, JP Morgan would be a very high quality lead if you're like an enterprise company selling to enterprise companies. Okay, so the issue is this values lead score is an empty array. Values key includes lead score. The field is present in the data structure. I don't know. This is like developer stuff, right? This is the whole point of like AI agents and autonomous things they can learn and do. And okay, so it found 5 new leads. These are all the 5 leads, and it seems to have done its job. So let's go back to Slack and see. Okay, so it didn't fire any webhooks yet. I don't know if it populated the lead score over here or not. We might just have to run it because it knows these are 5 new leads, and it really hasn't just run that yet, but at least it recognized it. So I'm going to wait for Replit to do its thing, and hopefully it fixes the problem, and we can then test it, and it runs and grabs those 5 leads that we added, gives them a lead score, and we can see them in the CRM, and it will populate over here to Slack. Okay, it looks like we're done here. Perfect. The fix worked perfectly. Clearly designed, research, lead score 52, Tiny Seed score 75, JP Morgan Chase, currently processing, is a bajillion-dollar company, and so it did all this stuff. Interestingly, it may not have done all of them. So there were 5 new leads. Let's see. Okay, so let's see if, okay, JP Morgan has a score of 72. That's a little suspicious because we think that that's not a clearly designed. My buddy Francois runs a great design company, 52. It's a very small company, so that makes sense. LL Bean, let's see how they did. 75. Okay, interesting. That's not like as big as I would guess. And Tiny Seed, we got some investment from Tiny Seed, and the guy there, Rob Walling, is just an amazing person. 75. Suspicious. Okay, let's check out. Webhook did not fire. Oh no. Tiny Seed score 75 above the 70 threshold will trigger Slack notification. But no, it did not. Okay, so let's see, right? This is real life. This is us building something in real time. I thought we had everything built, so this might be a little longer than we thought. And just one important point here is it creates this checkpoint. This is like version control. Version control in the development world is when you do a thing and you're like, okay, this is good. I can always come back to this point. If I go from here forward and mess things up, I can always come back. And so I see in Slack here that we have, okay, so it just did a fictitious one here for Attio. That's so funny. That's very meta. Louis Vuitton. Okay, so these are all the companies in our CRM. Okay, so it is, so if we go look at lead score, it has these lead scores, and now it's going to pop these over for the big companies into our CRM. Okay, so everything is working correctly at this point. So this is a test. And so, if you're a business person or you're in sales and you're like, hey, I want to know when the best leads are coming in, you could do something like this and say, hey, why is this lead so good? You could have it give you information here. You could customize the filtering or the criteria of what makes a good lead based on whatever criteria is important to you and your company and how you sell and how you do business. So Replit's AI agent builder, I think early, if I'm honest, it's early. The nice thing about this, as opposed to something like N8N, is like you don't have to know how to code. N8N, pretty technical. Like if you were like, hey, I want to build this really complex thing that like the world has never seen before, I want to make sure it's production ready, I would probably use N8N. It's really, really super flexible. You definitely need to know what like an HTTP request and how APIs work and stuff like that. The nice thing about Replit, kind of reminds me of Lindy, is you just talk to it and it goes and builds things. So like for now, for me, probably if you want to build a pretty simple AI agent and you're already using Replit for like making websites or little web applications, because like we did a previous video on creating fave icons, and it was great. We just talked to it and it built this little tool that you could upload a logo and it would make a fave icon for your podcast website at Castos. So we did this and we just talked to it and it built this little web application. We use this for marketing, right? We built this just with natural language. This and making an agent are not the same thing, right? So like if you're already using Replit for making something like this, and you're like, hey, I want to dabble in agents, pretty easy way to start. And that's why we're using this. We're going to get really deep into AI agents in subsequent videos here on the channel. So if you're not already, please subscribe so you get notifications when those videos come out, okay? So we're going to go deep into AI agents probably for the next handful of videos. So subscribe, right? If you're not already. But this is an easy, non-intimidating, I think, way for you to get started with AI agents if you're not a technical person, if you're not a developer. But, agents are really important into kind of the future of AI. And if you want to know why agents are and kind of a technology that enables them to be really powerful, check out this video where I talk about MCP, Model Context Protocol, and why it's really the essential building block layer that enables AI to be smart and productive.